All right, quick video while I'm waiting for Sherry. So the power went out, and I don't have a backup. I take full responsibility. So she had to poop in the dark. But client friend Chris is wanting to buy a big amp that I have. It's the last one I have. It's a Toro sells it as a 3.5K or 3.8K or whatever it is. And it does like 3,600 watts at 1 ohm, but it's also half ohm stable, but not really many manufacturers advertise that. I'm not sure why, but at half an ohm, it does like 7K, which is pretty impressive. You just have to have the current to provide for that kind of power. Now, I forgot to talk about this in my last video about some of the misunderstandings and misinformation that's out there in car audio land. And one of them is about power. And I've heard so many times people say, well, the amp is half ohm stable, but I don't have the electrical for that. That is the dumbest thing you can, well, it's one of the dumbest things that I've ever heard. So running the amp at half an ohm does not draw more current. It actually doesn't even provide more power. Again, when you drop the impedance on an amplifier, all it does is make the input more sensitive. That's it. The amplifier only does one job. It turns a small signal into a big signal. How much it does is determined on how powerful the amp is. And usually that's measured in decibels. So like, and I know this because I studied electronics in the Air Force, and they have you read all these dumb books where you're like, I'll never use this information. Lies. You will use that information if you're into car audio. So an amplifier just has a certain amount of gain. That's it. And so if you put in a little signal, you'll get out a little signal, but it'll be bigger than the original. So back to the I can't run half an ohm because I don't have the electrical. That is hogwash. So again, the amplifier will play a little if you just put a little input into it. Okay, so the only way, and then also somebody was asking, I'll throw Chris under the bus. Chris was asking, he's like, well, I only have one run of 0 gauge, and the amplifier only has one pair of 0 gauge inputs. How can I get 7,000 watts out of it? And I chuckled to myself because he doesn't understand electricity. So in his case, it's kind of fucked because he's only got one extra battery and he's running a 170 amp alternator, and he's got 0 gauge OFC, which is fine. And he's like, do I need to run another run? I said, well, that won't do you any good because the alternator is only good for 170 amps. Hold on. So he has a single run of 0 gauge and 170 amp alternator, and I guess an extra Optima battery in the back. And so again, there was like multiple facets of confusion on this build because he doesn't think he's going to have the power to create 6,000 watts. And I said, well, no, you do, but just for how long? And I said, and he's like, well, how long? And I said, probably like 5 minutes. You can run 6,000 watts, 7,000 watts, whatever it is. So then after that, you got to let the battery charge. And he's like, he got disappointed. And I was like, dude, you got to understand how much energy here, I'll give you an example right there. I'll zoom in right there, that little rigid. So I have a dedicated drill and a dedicated impactor that I just use for out here, but I'm barely out here in the garage doing install stuff. No, there we go. And so, the charge on that battery lasts me like forever because I don't use it very much. So, but if I'm sitting there using it like let's say I'm a construction dude, right? And I'm sitting there framing with, well, who frames with a fucking drill? I don't know, but anyways. So let's say drywall. Let's say I'm doing drywall, and of course, if you're anybody that you don't use a cordless for drywall, but let's say you're using a cordless for drywall. You got a big fucking battery on there, and then you have like 3 spares, right? Because you're using that fucker all day, and you get paid by the job, and you don't want anything to happen, so you don't want any downtime. So you're gonna have a lot of battery. Now, for that kind of user, yeah, you're gonna need lots of lithium. Okay, for on the bench, fucking poking around like, maybe I hang a photo or the picture frame like once a month when I'm on my period. Full moon right now. My gums are hurting and I crave chocolate and my testicles ache. So my external ovaries. Sorry, I have a throbbing vagina, not a penis. And so that my battery will last a really long time. So it's again, you have to understand how much electricity your system is going to be consuming. And so Chris asks usually, well, how do I calculate that? I go, ooh, now that's a math quiz. You got to ask AI for that bullshit. And again, the answer is, I said, you don't know. I said the best way to find out is just to find out. So you buy the amp and you hook it up and you play it, how much you play it, because again, some people say, oh, I want it for daily. I want to be able to play all day. I'm like, well, how much is all day? Like, how loud is that all day? I don't know. And I can't tell over the internet. So even though you're asking, it doesn't mean there's an answer for that question. But the best way is just to find out, and then also watch your voltage. And then if your voltage starts to dip after 5 minutes, guess what? You need to either shut it down or turn it down and let it recharge. Now, this is the same problem that they find in electric vehicles, where it's like, well, how quickly can it recharge? Versus there was a company in Israel that was, actually, I think they made working prototypes where they would swap the battery. Like, you go into a service station, like a gas station, and it takes like 2 minutes, 3 minutes to, like, if you walk in and nobody's there, or whatever, you drive in and nobody's there, they can do it in like 5 minutes. You make the car easily accessible to this machine that comes out with a new battery, swaps the old battery and puts in a new battery. And then what you do is you pay for the charge, which is also rad, a good idea for, because like in this hybrid, right, there's the service lights. So I got to replace the battery because the battery has come to the end of the life. And it'd be great if there was already a system involved where I would just swap it out. See, so that's a good idea, but it's not applicable to everything. So, but as far as what I told them, I said, you're probably going to need some lithium, or if you don't have access or money for lithium, you probably want to just find a used battery place and use some used batteries. And those will last about a year, maybe a year and a half. Again, it depends on your usage. It depends on your cycle, right? So like if you're running it, like if you're a boat dude and you're running it all the way down to 0 because you're passed out on the beach listening to AC/DC, then you're going to go through batteries faster because you're cycling them too hard. So, but like on a lead acid, if you're just barely using, like on the golf cart. So the golf cart runs at 36 volts, and then we use it for, I don't know, like 2 trips, and then we charge it. So there's good and bad about all kinds of cycle life and things like that, and it depends on the battery chemistry, on whether or not keeping it charged all the time is good. Like on a cell phone battery. Cell phone battery, it's actually not great to leave it on charge all the time because it overcharges it, or it's, again, it depends on the chemistry. It depends on what's actually going on the microscopic molecular level of the battery, on how good. So there's not quick and fast rules about how to use particular batteries. Well, there is particular batteries, but not like all batteries. So if that makes sense. So I know for some people that it's making their brain hurt, but I'm like, this is just the information you got to consume and know if you're going to be fucking around in this arena. So, and it takes time and money, and that's why I encourage all of you guys to flip. Flipping is the quickest way to your dreams, other than winning the lottery. Because if you have to go to a job every day and burn your time for money, oh my God, it'll take forever to get something like this. And at the end of the day, it's not even, I don't want to say useful. It's a luxury item. It's not something you have to have. You see what I'm saying? So there's always going to be an amount of guilt if you're sacrificing other things that are necessities, like, I don't know, diapers for your kid, for car audio. So I don't recommend do that. So the best way to do that is sales, right? And people get scared of sales. They're like, oh, I don't want to talk to people. Well, welcome to the world. Nobody wants to talk to people. But once you get over that hang up and you start getting good at sales and you start, helping other people, that's really what sales is about. Or I should say it can be. And that's what I recommend. Sales is about helping people. Now, how much you molest them and how much you prey on them is up to you. And that's why I try to keep that to a minimum and bring, again, Zen and service and namaste to every sale. I say those terms in my head whenever I greet someone, but I don't like bow or do any of that fruity, yoga people kind of shit. But anytime I ever interact with somebody, it's like, how can I help you? And I genuinely mean it. So, and again, you don't have to do that. You can be like Scott Dilbeck and just be a dick and just give me your money, whore. So that's up to you. Anyways, back to the problem of the energy. So again, his problem is really just money. And so again, how do you get more money? How do you get more batteries? How do you do that? And the best way to do that is to help other people. So you can also do things like group buys, like if you come together as like a guild or some sort of group of base heads, go in on a purchase. Like let's say you can find a vendor on Alibaba that's going to provide you with some LiFePO, lithium, and of course everybody needs 4 cells because of the chemistry. The chemistry provides a certain voltage, and you need 4 cells in that particular chemistry to create what you want, which is a 12-volt system. So now you got to buy 4 of everything, and so now let's say 100, right? You're going to buy 100 units from China, and that's going to cost you like say $5,000. And so then you just divvy it up, and you figure out, okay, now we need 25 users to all pitch in X amount of dollars, and then everybody gets lithium for super cheap. Boom. See, that's another way to do it. And then that way you guys didn't have to really sell to like, strangers or randos. You just had to find 25 base heads to come together and come up with this plan. So again, there's more than one way to live, and there's more than one way to, skin a cat or peel a chili. I got Beavis on the brain. Anyways, I'm going to go to breakfast because the fucking power's out and I'm hungry, and I just thought it was funny I could make a quick video, which is now 12 minutes, a quick video about power and how to understand it on a better level. So I'm going to title this like, false information, things like, and then, the whole, my amp is blah, 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 but I don't run it at blah, blah, blah because I don't have the electrical. It just makes you sound so dumb. It's like when somebody says something really racist and they really mean it, you're like, oh, like even like if you see, like, I don't know, whatever, so, minorities are hanging around and like they'll have sympathy because this person is so dumb. Like they don't get mad, they just have sympathy for you because you're so dumb. Anyways, I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. I'll field your questions and go through the messages today. Love you. Bye.